Welcome back to the lab. It's raining again. Right, so I've gone and got that tyre to put on that wheel to throw on the back of the Gloria to see if things will fit. Let's get straight into it. What we've got our hands on today, just for the purpose of test fitting, is a Achilles Radial ATR Sport 2. It's a 275/30 ZR19. These probably are not the tyres that will stay on the car. I would prefer to run Nexon, obviously, due to the connections with the March there, but this really isn't my car. It's a customer's car, so it's over to him. We've got quite a low profile, which is ideal for making the wheels and tyres fit in the car. Not so ideal for the ride or traction, but hey, that's what we get. He wanted these wheels, so then we need to make them work. We've also got a relatively square fitment. If you see there, the tyres don't really hang out much further than the wheels. And that's ideal because there's not a lot of room for that. So what we need to do, we're not going to get a wheel onto there because it's on the ground. We need to pick the car up and get that wheel on there, put the transmission jack under it and lift the wheel up and see if she fits in the hole. So that's a two-handed job. So when this starts banging and clanging, you guys will get sick of the noise. There you go, it's the safety locks. I'll shut this down, get that wheel on there, get the jack under, and I'll show you. We'll see if it fits together. Right, I've ditched the gimbal for this little piece because the gimbal won't probably do what I want to do with the camera. So if it's a bit shaky, I apologise for that. So, trans jack is under there, as you can see, not touching just yet. She's a pretty big tyre for the car, so that's cool. We've got lots of width there. At this point in time, with no load on there, we've got some clearance here. Not heaps, some. We've got a potential for an issue just here, although when the diff goes up it swings forward, so that might come right or it might go bad. Up in there she's pretty tight but not terrible, and most of the way around it's looking pretty good. Got clearance from arm to the tyre, and up in here I can barely see what I'm doing with the camera, so if it's bad footage, apologies. That looks marginal but okay. So foot on that, we'll take the thing up very, very slowly. I think this is going to be our problem area here. So it's the weight's just come off the car of the diff and everything, and it's just moved on the hoist a little bit. Alright, you'll be able to see the other side will go up because it doesn't have a wheel on it. Here we go. I think this will be our problem child just here. This doesn't look bad at all actually. So this is tipped over at this top edge because the other side's going up faster. We've still got room there, heaps of room. I wouldn't call that heaps, but there's clearance. She might rub every now and then. What do we got at the front there? Yeah, she's dicey, yeah. It's not touching, but what do we got? It's probably okay. That's probably about ride height there, depending on how much hard out cornering he does. Yeah, that is ride height from memory, from my calculations, etc. So there will be quite a bit of ground air under the car. She'll sit quite high because of the size of those tyres. Right, anyway. I think they're probably hard cornering would see that touch and rub just every now and then. But what do we got? It's just about bottomed out over on that side. Probably still pretty much ride height here. No, I think that's going to touch, isn't it? I think we're going to collect that. And that side's good. Geez, she's sketchy. But you didn't mind a little bit of a rub every now and then. I think you're fine. You are allowed some contact under extreme cases. We're pretty much bottomed out, or very close to. We're not actually connected anywhere just yet. That front that I thought would be a problem has actually got better as it's come up. The rear has got worse. The area I thought would be a problem is actually fine. I think we'll get away with this. It might just a little relief in this area here, which would be fine. Cut a little scallop out of the chassis rail there and reinforce it, and we'll get these big bad boys in there. Let's go. Right, so that's full compression, which is pretty close, but not touching. And the area I thought would be a problem is actually, that's no problem at all. That's good. Nothing up in there for that to connect on. Sorry about the light in there. Yeah, that'll work as long as the tyre we get is the same size as that tyre. We would be okay. It'd be nice if that was actually the ride height. Sorry about the thumb and the camera there. That would be really, really cool, but it's not, so never mind. Alright, I'll double check a couple other things, and I'll also take that off and put it on the other side, just make sure the other side is still same, good. Take some photos, get in touch with the customer, see what he reckons. Yeah, so next thing on the list, I've put the exhaust back in there and just double checked all the clearances there. Had to move the diff across to the right hand side just marginally. It wasn't perfectly in the centre. So there was heaps of room for the wheel on this side. When I went to put it on the other side, the tyre was hitting. So centred the diff up properly. Both sides clear now. Just. So that big fat 275 3019 sitting over there just fits. Might have some rubbing with extreme conditions like full load in the boot and 3 people in the back and bumpy roads being driven hard. So anyway, couple of tweaks here and there should give us a bit more room with that. We really want to get probably a semi-slick. Might not be able to, might just have to be a high performance road tyre, and then just tweak things as required to make it fit with no contact. So there might be an area just here. There's actually some very light scratching there that you can see. That's probably about where we'll have a problem on the front. And at the back, this is all actually going to be okay here. I gave that more room, thankfully. That's helped us a lot. It's really just this little small area at the bottom here. So a little bit of a scallop out of the chassis with some reinforcing, and that would resolve that. We'd get the biggest tyres we possibly can in there. Next thing is these angle of these top arms that you can see in there. So because we started with a much smaller diff, the mounts that are in here at the top, they've there's a bloody exhaust in the way. Hang on. Crash. There we go. That mount that's up there at the top for the upper arms is a lot higher up. There we go. That's better angle, isn't it? That's a lot higher up than what it was on the original diff. And because that's gone up so far, it's changed these top arm angles significantly. Very rough drawing I've done for you guys just to show you where we're at. The original diff would have had the top mounting point would have been down here somewhere in relation to the axle center line there. But because this diff head is so much bigger, we've had to go up to give them clearance to get the bolts, and so that's resulted in an angle of approximately 9.6 degrees at full droop. So once you go to road height, like with some weight on it, that angle increases even more. So what I'm going to do is basically chop a hole in the floor under the seat and put a mount above the floor in the back. You imagine that's probably actually not terrible for scale. That's probably about where the floor is under the back of the car there, and this is your seat area. That then comes down to the floor for the rest of the car. So the mounts currently are under that floor level. We could put a panel like this in, and then we can put that arm on the other side of the floor, lift up our angle, get it pretty good. So there's all sorts of calculations to do there. I'm not going to claim to be a guru on it, but I did look up a bit of info on what you work out where these lines intersect for these bars. That gives you a point here, and then you compare that to the center of gravity for the car and where the tire is down here, and your thrust line and all that sort of carry on, and you work out your squat and your anti-squat and all that sort of carry on. I'm not going to go into details with that. Anyone who wants to know can Google and see for themselves. Otherwise I'll say something and someone will say it's wrong, and I don't want to have that going on. So I'll do a little bit more research on that, do a couple of calculations, work out, get these arms in as best as practical without going silly. Bottom arm is basically exactly the same as what it was in the original car. The original setup, I'm not trying to reinvent things, I'm just trying to fit a bigger, stronger diff that we won't blow up with the power that we've got now. So top arm, like I say, that point had to be raised up. Where is it? It's 60 millimeters, I think. Yeah, 60 millimeters higher. It was 190 between centers on these originally, and now it is 250 center to center. So if I could shift that up 60 millimeters at the front, it's going to be in the ballpark of what it was. It shouldn't be any worse, and it shouldn't be any better. If it needs to be 50 millimeters or something like that, according to the calcs I can do now, then we'll do that. So anyway, before I even do that, I'm going to do something that's mind-numbingly boring, and I can do without thinking terribly hard, and that's get rid of some more of this sound dampening / insulation. Basically, this general area here is going to get chopped out to allow a mount to come up here for those arms, and the seat covers that. I'm going to retrieve the seat from the Bedford, make sure that we have enough height in the seat so that's not going to be a problem. There we go. Took a little bit of time to get all that sound dampening off, but it wasn't too bad. And you can go and get dry ice and put that on. Makes it a bit easier to get it off, but you're not going to get dry ice at the moment very easily, and it takes a couple of days to organise it. So more or less scrapes off with a scrape of this stuff anyway. It's pretty old and rubbishy, so not too bad. And then a bit of a run over with the rotary wire brush on the drill. So that's all ready for me to figure out where we're going to have to cut a big hole and get on with making the rest of it. Okay, so I've got that one top arm there looking much better with its angle. Hopefully we've got our anti-squat in a more sensible sort of arrangement than what it was before. So the way it's worked out, by my figuring out the ideal point for that top bolt here on the front arm, is basically in line with the floor, which makes things an epic pain in the ass. It would require a very large hole in the floor to be able to get that bolt in and out. So there's two options: you go below it or you go above it. So what I've done is the new brackets that I'm making is actually giving us both those options. So that's about 15 mils higher up than what that other bracket was that you would have seen that I had for a mock-up. And then the other bolt hole that this is actually in at the moment is 60 millimeters higher up. And 60 millimeters is a good number because that happens to be the increase in distance we've had from this lower pivot point to that upper pivot point, because of the fact the diff is so much bigger than the original diff that was in there. So we've increased that height by 60, and then we've increased it by 60 at the front, which puts it back to what it was before as far as your anti-squat angles and pivot points and everything in relation to the center of gravity and all the stuff and things. I haven't really done maths, but I've drawn some things up and I've taken note of some angles and stuff like that, and I've gone online and looked at what the experts reckon are the best for drag racing and all that sort of carry on, bearing in mind it's a road car. But that should be better than what we had before. So I'll get on with getting the other side in. Just pulled that weld undone and dropped this other bracket off. I'll tidy this up a little bit. We'll get on with putting this other side in, and then we can test things as far as what's happening with angles and stuff like that. The plan is I've left that plate in place that I said I was going to take out, this one that's behind here. I've left that there. I've welded that edge onto that and onto the return. I will weld on the other side of that along onto the floor. Then that gets a big cover, steel cover over the whole arrangement, ties in even further. I've made that plane there, the same as what's on the chassis there. So there's going to be a plate onto here, welded onto here, and welded onto the next face, next piece of this bracket arrangement here. So it's going to make it bomb proof. If you tear that out of the car, then you were going to tear anything out of the car. Cool. So we've got both those, well, the first side anyway, half of the brackets done, I guess you'd say. I've just drawn up the inside edge ones to go over here. I'm running out of days, so I'm not going to get that in here today. I'll do that tomorrow. Tested it for travel and all that sort of carry on. It's all awesome. Quite happy with the angles that are happening now. Much better than what we had before, and should actually perform quite well. Whew. Right, okay, I will cut out my little drawing. Quite a bit of a challenge to draw this up, but that's basically the shape of the bracket that's got to go onto the inside of it. This edge here, that line there got changed. That edge there goes right forward near the very base of the floor, and then this comes up around. This is the bit that pokes up through the floor that you were looking at just then, and there's the two holes that go there and there to position that top arm. So copy that. Heaps more material there to do another one of those. Obviously just cut one out first, try it on for size and see how you go. There we go, bracket cut out, test fitted in there, a couple of lightning holes added, just more so when things get painted under here we can actually ensure we get all those areas in there nicely and don't leave anything half painted or exposed and rusting out later on. It's not about saving weight, it's only a couple of grams out of that and reduced strength, but like I say, it'll be better than leaving that as a solid panel, getting rust and stuff in behind here, and then it's weaker. So that's that one done, ready to weld up, and also the other side. So that one needs just a little bit of a clamp just to hold it in the right spot. It's tending to spring out away from this bracket, so just got that touched on there just at the moment. Oh, our dog's barking again. Anyone want some dogs? Anyway, so I'll get those welded up, and then we'll carry on with the rest of the stuff. There's going to be a plate that'll come across here onto that and that, down to here and back to here somewhere. Oh, might see if we can tag in another piece along here just to seal it off, give it some proper strength, and that'll be welded at the top as well to the panel. Where is the camera gone? There. I'll weld that to the panel there, and on the other side same deal, and then be a closing panel which will attach to this as well, and that'll be attached all the way back up to there. And by the time all that's done, I'll be able to use that famous expression all males use, that's not going anywhere. This lot's dragging on a bit longer than I thought it would. Got those inner brackets all sorted out, they're on there, mint, good. Holes cut out for our rods to go through, folded up these parts that need to go. It's going to be really hard to do with one hand, but need to go in here anyway, in that general ballpark, and I've got to shape the end of it to go over the top of that a bit nicer and shape the side of it and all that sort of carry on, but totally running out of time today, so it's going to be a Friday job, which will be awesome because things like that always turn to crap on a Friday. So there we go. I think that'll do for now. I think I'm going to leave this, and you guys will have to see the next video to see where we're at. But quite a good gain there as far as the angles on those arms, so pretty happy with that. That looks far more sensible. We've got far more sensible digits, numbers, angles, etc. winning. So as you can see, I got a bit carried away. I only needed to clean the sound dampening material off in this general area. Took it right through. Actually found a lot of surface rust underneath there in the middle, so glad I did that. That wouldn't have lasted a heck of a lot longer and it would have caused problems for the guy, so fix that up. That's just about all of the sound dampening material except for this little piece over there. I think the rest of it's all gone in the front from memory. Yeah, it looks like it. A lot of work to go in here still. It's going to be a long project. Right, cheers, bye.